everyone. Before I start, um, major trigger warning. I mean major trigger warning, as in, oh, let's just say all the things. We're trigger warning for suicide, violence, kidnapping, unwilling captivity, eating live animals of some kind, just basic heavy trigger warning. So if you are the type of person that is easily triggered, both in the actual sense of this actually upsets you because it's basically bringing on a form of PTSD, and or the type of person who gets offended by every little thing on the planet, do not watch this video. Please click away now, run away, go watch my room video, even though it's a little creepy, there's not really anything triggering there, or go watch my Dark Dimensions video, or my old tree video, or my Sam and Max videos, even though they're a little crude, they're funny. Pretty much anything that is not horror at this point, because this is one of those things that actually elicit a lot of reaction from people, and I'm going to be giving this a try myself finally. The name of the game, if you haven't already guessed, is The Static Speaks My Name. So, we are in space. Static Speaks My Name. Is this a demo for what's probably going to be a full game? Today will be a better day. diverge because they're reflections of the... Oh no, they are shadows. It's the island. But no, they would because they're two separate entities. They're two separate trees. Yes, you'd have two separate shadows. That makes more sense. See, conspiracy nuts? I can, you know... Could be man-made, so what are the implications? Like I said, we're not dealing with the same person. Use the computer. Hi, handsome. How you doing? So yeah, and yeah, for some reason the text is coming. I guess you're supposed to write a note. I don't want you to blame yourself and Dad. With Dad gone, I'm sorry. I have to leave you too. Please don't be angry with me. Man in the cage. What? No, we're not electrocuting him. Fuck no. Food, light bulbs, I've forgotten. 3 times since your members. Do I need more paint? Where is the man in the cage? I forgot where he... Not here. That's right. This is the room of crazy. That's something okay, I forgot. I need my keys. You see me in your coat. Oh, they're right there. So that's a door. I need sleep. Tired, tired, tired. Man in the cage. Return to your room and let your body rest. And no, he doesn't mean sleep. Yep. Yeah. You remember that trigger warning I said earlier? The one where I pretty much said, yeah, if you're sensitive to anything, don't watch this video. And you see, I made the one right moral choice in this, which is don't kill the guy in the cage, even though you obviously have the option to. I gave you a warning and I gave you a chance because I'm sure you're mature enough to have figured out me looking at that news going, remember that trigger warning? eyes down, thank you. It shuts itself down conveniently. But basically, once the what goes on in that story is we're dealing with a conspiracy nut of a very high caliber, and he focused on this one painting, and he's like completely convinced there is a hidden meaning behind a painting that involves two palm trees, basically. And he's doing like all of these things, like, oh, the shadows wouldn't diverge except there are two palm trees. Of course, the shadows would diverge. Um, but it's gotten to the point where he's not taking care of himself, it seems like. I mean, you saw that he didn't flush, he didn't shower. And he apparently at one point kidnapped the artist. And, he has no friends. He's like awake at like 3 in the morning, essentially, which is like fucking. I can't say it's fucking insane because I've been up at 3 in the morning, but I'm usually not keeping people in a cage that's attached to electrical circuits to electrocute and shit like that. I just unlocked the cage because I decided to let the guy live, essentially, which I think a lot of people who play that game do because, why would you want to electrocute another human being? Essentially, this is apologies. I'm allergic to suicide, apparently. But apparently this was like writing on his head, the character's head, so he eventually, I guess, like, he was mentally unstable, and it got to a point where now he committed suicide. He basically, in my version of the story, let the man go. In others, he probably kills the man, then unlocks the cage. He let the man go, and he the artist go, and he killed himself. Now, a lot of YouTubers have been used this as a you can talk to other people, and you can talk to you can reach out. There's no need to do that, but a lot of those people that are committing suicide that they're talking about usually have different problems. Like, their lives are kind of, if not bad, they feel bad, and they're dealing with a lot more of depression than whatever this character was going for. So I'm not going to say that only because it doesn't feel appropriate, even though I do believe that. I guess I am kind of saying it, but in this case, this was somebody who probably wouldn't have reached out for help because they probably had other beliefs about doctors and stuff that didn't really portend to them reaching out for help. A lot of people who believe conspiracy theories sometimes believe that doctors are not there to help them and stuff like that either. So it's a dangerous mentality, but it's one that does actually exist. There is also the fact that the suicide that happened after essentially a crime, so he may have been doing it to escape punishment, because we don't know exactly if the police had any ideas he had the artist or not. I mean, yes, in my story, he released the artist, but kidnapping is a federal offense, and you can go to jail for basically the rest of your life for it, even if the person survives. So he may have committed suicide because of that. He may have committed suicide because he felt he was tired. So there are other reasons behind this. So I'm not going to use this as a platform because I don't feel it's an appropriate platform to talk about how you don't need to commit suicide, because this particular situation is not a scenario where you do it. I have a feeling the game will be reflecting on suicide itself, so there will be other scenarios that may end up being more appropriate for me, of saying the usual, you can talk to me, you can talk to other people, and you can, I will say that, but this really doesn't feel like the right place for it, if you understand what I mean. It feels more like I can understand why it happens, but it feels more more or less like a version of it where you wouldn't really say something like that. This is more of a please don't kidnap people because that's horrifying. And it kind of is. I mean, he ends up eating his own pets because they're shrimp and you can eat shrimp. Um, I mean, seriously, the guy had no food in his fridge. He was not taking care of himself. He probably hadn't left. He saw the windows all boarded up, too. He probably hadn't left his house in a long time, in like a few weeks, or a few days or weeks at least. It didn't seem like long enough that it'd be months, but like a few days or weeks at least. And the fact that, he was eating his shrimp, his pets, kind of tells you how desperate he was at that point. So, this was not a sane person. This was not a person that you could do the reach out, and they wouldn't naturally do it. If the other one is more an old person trying to end life because they're sick, again, they probably won't do it. They'll probably tell you, no, I'm in a lot of pain and it's time for me to go. If they do one where the person is just legitimately depressed, then I'll do the whole, reach out thing, because that's the people that will reach out if you give them a chance. And actually listen to them instead of, saying their feelings really don't mean anything. So, I am using this as a platform to point out that suicide is a more complicated issue than people seem to make it out to be. I am one of those people that I don't vilify the person who commits suicide, but I don't encourage the action either. Mainly because the action does hurt a lot of other people, but I don't vilify the person who does it because their mindset isn't quite in that right frame where they realize, they either feel like it wouldn't actually hurt anyone, or they feel the hurt from that is better than the hurt from them being alive, if you understand what I'm saying. So I understand the complexities of this. Like, suicide is not just like a one note thing like people seem to like to make it out to be. Instead, it's a lot more complicated and a lot more, it's just a lot nastier than people make it out to be, because it can really feel like it is the only option no matter what. And for a lot of people, it may end up being the only option. So I do encourage people to at least attempt to reach out first. It is my one thing on it is the last resort. If you really feel like you're fucked 8 ways from Sunday, this is then. But you better be 100% freaking sure. But for a lot of people, they are. You could give them another option, but they may just, throw it out as it wouldn't work for me or something at that point if they're in that mental state. And again, as I pointed out in the scenario we just played, it doesn't really feel like this is one of those scenarios where the guy was even going to reach out. He couldn't even tell a chat bot his problems. This is something that wouldn't call the police or anything, because it's just a fucking sex bot, and he still couldn't say anything. So, there you go. That's how complicated the situation is. So I wasn't really joking around or anything. I knew what this game was. I'd seen it played. And I saw it was free, and I decided to play it myself. Because I guess part of me wanted to do this. Also, it's a good, quick game to play, but it's not. But it really is more along the lines of, I wanted to show you a different perspective on the whole suicide thing. I think I wanted a platform to talk about it, and this felt like the right platform for that. And again, I am giving a little bit different because of the style of the game and what is going on in the game. I cannot in any good conscience say, use this for the reach out platform that most people use for suicide, because this is not that type of situation of a suicide. There are different suicidal situations. None of them are happy. None of them are usually needed. Um, Maybe doctor assisted suicide, but usually by then the person does have all their stuff in order and they know they're reaching the end of their lives anyway. So why extend it and make people suffer more in that situation? Again, them being alive will hurt more than them being dead in their mind. Some people believe that, some people don't. It is up to you. And do not vilify anyone who commits suicide. I mean, this character was a villain character in a sense, but not because he committed suicide. It's because he kind of kidnapped somebody. That usually makes you the villain. The kidnapping, not the suicide. The suicide, that's actually, I would say it's a neutral action. It hurts, but it's not meant to actually hurt anyone. It's just meant to end suffering. So there's some good and some evil in it. So it is a neutral action. I know people are going to argue with me all throughout, but this is what I consider. This is my opinion. You don't have to have my opinion. It may actually shock you. You don't have to have my opinion. I'm just saying, to me, it's a neutral action because it is still your own life you're taking. You're not taking anyone else's life normally, unless you're doing something that would take someone with you. In that case, you're also a murderer, and that is the evil part of the action. But under normal circumstances, I mean, you're not actually a murderer because you're not taking anyone's life but yourself. That's why it's called suicide instead of, say, homicide. And I don't know what's going on. So, don't. Also, try not to put in the comments, oh, this person is going to hell, or if you commit suicide, you're going to hell. One, this is an atheist channel. That's like saying Santa's not going to bring me any presents, okay? Or anyone else any presents. Here, it ain't going to fly. It's not going to work, and you're kind of being an asshole at that point. Because a lot of people have had family members who committed suicide, and it still hurts them. And saying that their family members are suffering for all eternity because of an asshole god who doesn't quite get the idea of punishment being a temporary thing, is not very nice. So I'm putting my foot down here. Don't pull that in the comments, and if you already did, it's probably going to get deleted. Just as you know. Because, yeah, I'm not putting up with that shit. I don't normally censor comments, but in this case I will have to make an exception because it is that nasty and that cruel, and it adds nothing to the conversation in the long run. Because, one, the person who committed suicide's already dead, so they're not going to hear this, and they're not going to give a shit. And two, the people who are alive who are going through this don't need to hear it. So there's literally nobody that needs to hear what you have to say if it's, oh, the person's burning in hell because they committed suicide. Well, maybe they thought life was hell, so maybe they prefer it. And obviously the other reason is because it is mean, and this is my channel, and this is technically my yard in a sense. And when it comes to freedom of speech in a public place, you can do whatever you want, but in someone else's yard, they get to decide what's dog crap and clean it up. This is my yard. If you want to say this shit that you want to say about suicide sending you to hell, just say it in your own yard. I can't stop you there. And I'll just definitely stay out of your yard. So, just don't start the whole suicide equals hell thing on this channel. Alright, guys? I'm gonna stop now because I'm starting to ramble, but there is a lot. For a short little tiny game, there is a lot in here. And this is, again, a freaking demo. So I'm kind of scared. I'll talk to you later. Bye.